Today marks 3.5 years since the Grenfell Tower fire. 3.5 years of fighting for change, for answers and for justice. Unfortunately, we can't be together again this month, so we'd ask you to please do something from home in remembrance of those that we lost. We'd also like to send our love and our condolences to Clarrie Mendy's family. Clarrie lost her relatives Khadija Say and Mary Mendy in the fire, and unfortunately she passed away earlier this month. She fought tirelessly for change and for justice over the last 3.5 years. She'll truly be missed, and our thoughts are with her family during this difficult time. Thank you to all of those who continue to support us on our journey. We won't stop until justice is served. Grenfell, forever in our hearts.
It's been a long 3.5 years, we've not stopped fighting for our bereaved, our survivors, for our community, and we continue to fight for those people that are around the country that are living in circumstances that could result in what we've had to go through. I think if we had done what people would have expected us to do and, live in our trauma and not fight through that trauma to make sure that things change, then I think we'd be in a different place right now. But we've worked hard and tirelessly as Grenfell United, as bereaved and survivors, to ensure that change does come. We've never been under any illusions that this process was going to be a slow one. Now we've hit the 3.5 year mark, it makes it more evident that this is going to be a lot longer than we expected because we're not that far forward. And I think we're all in this process and we have no choice but to continue the process. We have to seek justice, we have to get justice for those people that lost their lives, we have to seek justice for the survivors that survived that god awful night, and we have to seek justice for the community who watched it. The government and others would love to see us give up, and it's not something that we're going to do. Thousands of people are still living in unsafe buildings. Hundreds of thousands of people are waking up every morning thanking their lucky stars that during the night a fire didn't take place. And the government haven't and are still not moving quick enough. It's only a matter of time before another major fire happens. I can only pray that it doesn't result in loss of life, but none of us can guarantee that. We told government a couple of years ago now that Grenfell 2 is in the post if they didn't get their act together, and I still believe that, because the way the situation is with the pandemic in this country and people having to stay at home more, accidents do happen, and it will be an accident that could end up seeing a whole building up in flames, just like Grenfell was. The construction industry, as we're starting to see, is so broken, and I believe that there's lots of elements to that. And as in more recent days we've started to see the connection between government and corporations, and I think as the inquiry goes on we're going to see more of that. And I think this is probably where the government are aware of what's going to happen and are trying to do what they can to mitigate their liability in this. But I don't think they're going to come out unscathed. This problem, as we go forward, will become everybody's problem. This is not just about us. This is bigger than us. We were the fall guys. We took the pain. We took the initial pain. But this will have a ripple effect.
Grenfell United are determined 3 things emerge out of that awful event. The first is truth, the second is justice, and the third is change. Truth, we hope, will come through the public inquiry. Justice, we intend to come through criminal prosecutions and the guilty being sent to jail. And change needs to come as a legacy for the 72 lives that were lost. We're calling for the removal of cladding from buildings. Something that is just so shocking that 3.5 years after the fire, so many buildings are still covered with this cladding. We're calling for the recommendations of the Phase 1 report to be implemented. And as we sit here today, Not one single piece of legislation has been enacted to make that happen. But I want to talk to you primarily about the white paper on social housing. So Martin Moore-Bick, the judge of the public inquiry, very early on said that he was not willing to investigate social housing. It fell to Theresa May, the then Prime Minister, to promise us, first of all, a green paper and then a white paper that would bring meaningful change to residents in social housing. We were determined that there would be a before Grenfell and an after Grenfell, a way that residents were treated before the fire with no recourse to having their complaints listened to, no meaningful voice. That's changed into something completely different. And we look at the white paper as being a vehicle for that to happen. The white paper, when it was published earlier this month, didn't fully deliver on our demands. And we have skin in this game. We are determined that this white paper brings a meaningful change that provides a legacy for the 72 lives lost. What we came to understand on Lancaster West is that it's only external independent scrutiny of landlords that can hold them to account. And although the white paper hasn't really met our demands, there are elements inside it that involve complaints being dealt with the Housing Ombudsman and wider systemic issues being dealt by the Regulator for Social Housing that mean there is still a lot to play for. We need the Regulator for Social Housing to become a champion of tenants, and we need to work to ensure that happens. We need the Housing Ombudsman to become a champion of residents and to ensure that independent individual complaints are scrutinised.
According to Luke Bisbee, Arconic's PE Renabond polyethylene cord cladding was the main promoter of the fire, following its escape from the window in Grenfell Tower. Arconic carried out a test in 2004 that lasted 850 seconds. From the basis of this test, they found that the cladding could be considered Class E. However, the company still promoted it as Class B. In internal emails, it was found that Arconic had to look for spaces where there were less restrictions in order to sell such cladding. One of those places of less restriction was Britain. We know that Gavin Barwell, Eric Pickles, and others had sat on demands to make regulations more serious. Claude Verla, Arconic employee, emailed other employees with the following phrase: PE Renabond equals a dangerous facade and should be replaced by other less flammable forms as soon as possible. Claude Verla is currently in France using the French blocking statute that was established in 1968 as a reason to not come to Britain and testify in front of the inquiry. I say to Claude Verla, when you sent that email, you showed care for human life. We are asking you now to extend that care for human life and to come and face this inquiry. The 4 Arconic employees who have thus far used this law to escape their moral obligation to appear at the inquiry are Claude Verla, Claude Schmidt, Peter Frohlich, and Gwenelle Derridinja. We were promised that there would be justice for Grenfell. We were promised that we would hear the truth from all the actors involved in this horrific tragedy. We know that Arconic and their PE Renabond with 6 millimeters of polyethylene in the center of it was the #1 promoter and spreader of the fire across the tower, much in the words of Arconic's own emails that said it will spread fire across the towers. We know the responsibility of Arconic here. It has been established in accessible documents to all. What we are asking is for those that took part in this disgusting, horrific crime to come and talk to the public inquiry. It is the least that we deserve.
We're here today on the 3.5-year anniversary of the Grenfell Tower tragedy outside the French Embassy in central London, delivering a very strong and powerful message about these 3 Arconic witnesses that are hiding in France behind the French law. So we feel like the only way that we deliver these powerful messages is by doing things like this, coming straight to their doorstep. And hopefully this will encourage the French government to want to react to this, to want to do something about this, to want to at least lift the French blocking statute so that these witnesses have nothing else to hide behind and they can come here and tell the truth in the interest of public safety. They were happy to profit of public money when they were selling their products, but they're not happy to come and cooperate with the public inquiry for the safety of the British public. So we need to do everything we can to not only highlight this, but bring them here. And please continue to talk about Grenfell. Please continue to talk about what's been coming out, because it's bigger than us. It's not just about the families we lost anymore. It's about the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people in this country that are unsafe in their home. It's about these companies, these crooks that are getting away with murder, still profiting off the deaths of our families while we're having to pick up the pieces and do things like this just to get them here to come and tell the truth. So let's make sure that we continue to keep this in the spotlight. Let's make sure we continue to talk about this, and let's make sure we continue to support each other. It's a difficult time for us because some of our families should be here with us today. And you know, it's tough to stay strong in times like these, but together we are united, and we will continue to be united, and we must continue to stay strong.